talent resets, so I was trying different things out. And I went really heavy into picking up a bunch of buffs and stuff. I don't even know where I am. I think I'm in Tanaris? No. Okay, I'm parked outside of where my grind spot is. Alright, I'm gonna shadow meld, and then I'm gonna walk y'all through what I did. I put something here on the side. I figured I could share it with y'all. Alright, this is the Project Ascension calculator, or Ascension Calculator 2.3, and I think I have a link in the description to a Google Drive thing folder where you can download it, but just to give you an idea of what I'm going to be doing here, I picked up Armor to the Teeth as my first talent, and you can see that that'll increase your attack power by 1 for every 108 armor value you have. I think that's actually 3 because I put 3 points into it. The calculator here doesn't actually reflect the 3 to 5 rank point expenditure. Like, the tooltip doesn't update. The more points you put into it, it'll just show the first rank. So the first rank of Armor to the Teeth is attack power by 1 for every 108, but whenever I put 3 points into it, it becomes 3 attack power for every 108 armor. So that's my first talent that I put in. Then I went into Insight. That's from the warrior tree. Armor to the Teeth was Fury, and Insight is the protection tree. Insight increases the crit strike chance of my heroic strike, thunderclap, and cleave by up to 15% with 3 points. Then I went into Nether protection from, I think it's the Destruction Warlock. Yeah, it says right here, Destruction Warlock, and it's a level 35 ability. After being hit with the spell, you have up to a 30% chance with 3 points to gain Nether protection, reducing all damage by spell schools by 30% for 8 seconds. This is really cool because before, whenever I went super tanky, I had a lot of armor and physical damage was reduced, but spell damage still hit me really hard. And what's cool about Nether protection is, depending on what spell I get hit with, I gain resistance to that class or that school of magic. So that's really awesome for tanking kind of like caster types. You still want to nuke them down pretty quickly because spells hit hard. But then you go into protection, and then I picked up Shield Mastery. Increases your block value by 30% when you put 2 points into it, and then it reduces the cooldown of your shield block ability. I think it's by 30 seconds, but I'm not sure. Then I went into Shield Specialization. I only put 3 points into that because if you put more than that, in my experience, if you're AoE tanking, at least with my guy, I tend to generate more rage than I can spend. So just 3 points, it feels just right for me in Shield Specialization. Then I went into Thick Hide. Now, it says I only put 2 in because I made this build whenever I was level 39, but since then I've made up to level 41. So I was able to actually put more points into this. And this also brings up a good point, because if you have a tank and you want to increase armor contribution from items, it's best to pick up the Feral Druids, and you can see the Beast Mastery Hunters version first, because those are only 3 points to get 10% armor contribution from items. Now I thought that would actually scale, because when you put a point into it, it says that you get it looked like with the first rank that you would get 4%, and then I thought if you put a second one you would get 8%, and then a third one you would get 12%. I thought you would actually get 12% armor contribution, but that wasn't the case. It was only a maximum of 10%. I don't know if that was tweaked or if that was intended, but that's how it works, and it's still the cheapest way to get the most out of each talent you put if you just only want to pick up one version of these. But what I did was I picked up all the versions. So I picked up the Druids version, which is 3 points, the Hunters version, which is 3 points. So now that's 10% plus 10%, that's 20% more armor from my items. And then I went into Paladins and put 5 points into that, mainly for the threat generated as well. But I got another 5 points put into that. That brings it up to 30% armor contribution from items. And then in the Warriors version, I put it in and got up to 40% armor contribution from items, including the warriors. And it also is a kicker bonus to the side, reduces duration of movement and pairing effects. So that's pretty cool. So between those 4 trees, I'm getting 40% more armor from the items I'm wearing. And since I hit level 40, I've been able to start putting on plate, and I'm starting to see that pay off really well. Sanctified Retribution, I went into that with the Paladin as opposed to Devotion Aura, because I found before, whenever I was going into Devotion Aura, I did get a lot of armor, but there were times when I would just be healing and throwing down Consecration and Magma Totem before, whenever I was grinding in Stranglethorn Vale, and that whole time I was self-healing, I wasn't putting any damage out at all. So Retribution Aura was a really good idea for just still being able to put out damage even whenever I get stuck in situations where I just have to heal through the fight. And an added bonus is that friendly targets, including myself, get damage increased by 3%. So that was a really good pick, having Retribution Aura and having it hit harder, 50% harder, and then dealing damage even whenever I'm stuck healing. I opted for Blessing of Kings instead of Blessing of Sanctuary, because Blessing of Kings gives me 10% more of all my attributes, not just strength and stamina like Blessing of Kings. And also I found that with Water Shield, which you'll see I picked up later, I get more mana return. You can hear my power auras going off. I get more mana return from Water Shield than I did with Blessing of Sanctuary anyways. So after I picked that up, I went into Cleave, and Cleave is a good threat dump. So in those situations where even the 3 shield specialization that I picked up over here gives me more rage than I can use or handle, I can cleave away most of that rage to keep myself from capping. And I find a lot of the times I just get in a situation where I'm just thunderclapping and cleaving back to back, and Cleave is really legit for that. Then I move on to Defensive Stance, and Defensive Stance makes it to where I have less damage taken, and oh, okay, so at this point I went into picking up abilities. So Blessing of Kings, Cleave, Defensive Stance so I could use shield block and stuff. I picked up all the armors, as many as I could find, which included Demon Skin. You can see later Frost Armor, Mark of the Wild has an armor increase, and I think I picked up a couple others. Demoralizing Shout, super useful for further reducing the damage that I'm taking whenever I'm AoE tanking. And this is cool because it reduces the attack power of everybody, like everybody in range, as long as they don't resist it. So Demoralizing Shout further reduces the damage that I take, even on top of all the armor that I have. And that with Frost Armor and Thunderclap, it really kind of nullifies the damage that most physical damage dealers can do to me. Flash Heal is a good self-heal. It's I think it was Mikhail Berkelstein or something like that. He was a developer that was working on the game like 4 months ago or something. He said that this is the most cost-efficient, biggest heal. So I tend to listen to people who know a lot about the game, especially if they helped develop it. So I switched to Flash Heal instead of Flash of Light like I used to use, and Lesser Healing Wave. Flash Heal is a good pick. Frost Armor, that converts to Ice Armor later, and I think I actually didn't talent it, but I thought to myself I might talent this later on and increase the amount of armor return from it. But for now, I didn't have enough points, so I just picked up the armor itself, and I've been training each rank as it gets higher. Inner Fire is a priest armor increaser. It's from the Discipline tree. You can get it at level 12, and that's just another added armor buff. I have to rebuff that often whenever I'm AoE tanking, but it's pretty legit. I want to put points into that so I can get more stacks than the 20 charges, but I usually keep this up just like I would keep Water Shield up while I'm tanking, and you'll see that in action in a little bit. Judgment of Light, 2% of the health that's healed. The more I stack stamina, and that's kind of what I've been focused on as far as attributes are concerned. Stamina stacking, and then also most plate gear or mail gear comes with stamina as well. Judgment of Light's just more effective the more health I have, and I pair that really well with Seal of Light. Magma Totem is like one of the strongest AoEs that I've found that I can just set and forget. It'll stay at my feet for about 20, yeah, it says 20 seconds. So that's 20 seconds, which is a few rotations of other things that I can do in that time. That's consistent damage that's constantly being put out, just like my Retribution Aura. Mark of the Wild was really good. I picked that up for the armor and the attribute increase. That pairs really well with Blessing of Kings. So it's like you get that 10% from Blessing of Kings, but then with Mark of the Wild you also get a percentage of stat increased with that one as well. Revenge I don't find myself using too often, but whenever I do, it's a really good single target damaging ability. It's really hard hitting. I got Rock Biter to further increase my attack power for Thunderclap. Seal of Light for my self heals. Shield Block for on-demand defense, which like helps save me a lot whenever I got a lot of mobs on me. I can pop Shield Block and just everything starts being blocked, and I get a ton of rage from that. Stone Skin Totem. I used to think Stone Skin Totem was only damage reduction, like physical damage reduction, but in Wrath of the Lich King client it actually has armor. So I cast that at the beginning of every pull and increase my armor by X amount. You'll see that later. Which then in turn with Armor to the Teeth is converted into attack power. So you can see how armor stacking is beneficial. Thunderclap. This uses damage is increased by attack power. So all that attack power that I'm stacking is then in turn used by Thunderclap, which I have spec'd into 15% more chance to crit. And I think I even got a random enchant on my item that's buffing that even further. So that's my number one top damaging ability. I prioritize my Thunderclap cooldown above all things. So every 6 seconds I am clapping as much as I can. Travel Form, because it's instant cast, used to be 30%, or I thought it was 30% before, but I read it whenever I was respecking this time, and it's either increased or always has been 40%, and that's just more useful than having to cast Ghost Wolf, so I opted for Travel Form. Water Shield, that's how we keep our mana up so we can keep judging and buffing and laying our Magma Totem. Like Water Shield's mainly for Magma Totem, that's the whole reason why we have that, and our self heals. So water shields, you can't beat how much mana you get back from Water Shield. And we're tanky enough to where we can keep getting hit and getting those charges of globes expended to keep our mana up. So yeah, that's the build. It's centric around stacking armor, converting that to attack power, reducing the damage we take, and thunderclapping as much as possible with our Magma Totem out and Retribution Aura on. So now that I've walked you through that, I'll actually show you the build in action in the game. We're sitting here AFK. I got Power Aura set up here, so it'll notify me when one of my buffs are falling off, and it's so many buffs that I really need to, I had to find out a way to track them all. Alright, so this glowing cross symbol, that's our inner fire. We're going to put that on. That's our Stone Skin's totem. But whenever we're in combat, we'll get a little shield icon that lets us know whether or not Stone Skin totem is down. Here's inner fire. And I'll let you see actually my armor, what it does while we're doing this. Right now I got, with no buffs or anything whatsoever, I got 4158 armor. That's just from gear. And I began putting on plate, which has been dropping often now that I'm above 40 and I'm grinding mobs, but you can still see I got a bunch of mail on in certain areas. I got lucky with Ice Mail Jerkin that dropped because it ended up getting that 5% more Heroic Strike, Thunderclap, and Cleave random enchant, which is also a talent I talented, so I'm actually getting 20% altogether with that. Mail, I still have that same axe, I still got that same shield. I grabbed a bow, and then I got the level 40 ammo. Strength and stamina, strength and agility ring. It's my gear is still focused on strength and armor, but I'm not as scared to pick up stamina and armor now because of the damage reduction and stuff. But yeah, I still favor strength, stamina, and armor mainly. So that's the gear. We're at a 51.7% damage reduction with just that armor. Now we're gonna go to defensive stance. We're gonna drop our stone skin totem. That goes up to 45.78. We're at 54% damage reduction. Inner fire, 58.7% damage reduction. Blessing of Kings, 58.74. Mark of the Wild, 59.6% damage reduction. Ice armor, 61.18% damage reduction. Demon armor, 62.78 damage reduction. I think that's as high as we're going to get it right there. But we still have our Seal of Light and our Rockbiter weapon that we need to buff. Seal of Light's our heal, and Rockbiter's really good because it works well with Thunderclap. So all together, when it's all said and done, we're at 62.7% damage reduction, and that's physical damage specifically. Our defenses, just right off rip, the way it is right now, is about 10% dodge, 4.3 parry, and block stops 108% or 108 damage at 4%.